So here we are in Battlefield Builder, which is the new tool, and I'll give a quick demo how it works, how the typical workflows are in our software. So on the right side here, you have your model menu. Here you can choose which kind of models you want to use. So we sort them by their type, which are floors, walls, corners, etc. So here you will find all the individual models as little buttons that you can then, if you just want to build, you just click on one and drag it out. It will load for a couple of seconds, but then it will be preloaded and you can then drag each one out again and again without any loading times. So just like that, you can then start building colored ruins. So we have different heights, as you can see. These walls are broken down because it makes sense on the battlefield. And you can see these transition into each other from height 5 inches to 3 inches to then 1 inch. And we have all kinds of transitions and end pieces for you to play with. So with just some clicks, you can then drag out your basic layout. Let's finish it up on this side. There we go. And then we will have an empty space over here, which is the corner. There we can place, well, a corner, which we get from this part of the menu. And this is the very, very basic workflow where you just go ahead and drag stuff out from the menu and position it where you need it. A very important note is that you don't have to print all of this at once. You can actually split it wherever you like. So no matter how small your printer is, even on small resin printers, you should not have any problems printing our buildings. For example, if I now want to split this here, I can create a so-called group, which will now be selected as one model and exported as one STL. So these models will become one STL and these models will become one STL. And to connect them, you can see we have these slots on the side of them. They're not very pretty in the program because there's a lot of geometry overlapping. But if you printed them out, they will be clean open slots, and you can place 3mm magnets here or use 3D printed dowels, which we also provide as an STL. So you can then connect them with glue or keep them modular with magnets after printing. Yeah, and as you can see, everything is colored in here. And this color also translates to multicolor printing. So actually, if you go to File Export, you will be asked to save the building. And then you will be asked if you want to export for multicolor printing or for single color printing. Now let's go into the tools that we offer to make your life easier, because always dragging out each individual model is a bit tedious. You have a couple of regular 3D tools that I won't go into too deeply here. You can rotate, scale, translate, mirror. And then the first interesting one is the exchange tool. So if you select a model and go to the exchange tool, you can see that we display to you the different options we have for this size of wall. So if you want to exchange it with one, you just click on that. And now you can see on the same exact spot inside the same group, we have placed the other option. And of course, this is a bit more interesting when there are more options, which we will expand in the future. Then we have the attach tool, which really is one of the most important tools, especially if you want to create a bit of variety in your buildings. Let's load in a window here so we can properly see it, how it works. So if we got a window here, you can see we have these open windows here, right? And if we go to the attach tool, you will find that we have a separate, more closed, more narrow window option here. So by clicking on this, it will be loaded, and then by clicking this one will be removed again. So like this, you can switch between the different window options or remove them completely if you just want to have a hole in your wall, which is also an option. Now we get started on the really, really interesting ones. The Ruins tool gives you the option to skip the whole dragging out of the menu part and just build in an abstract path like this. And then you can expand it by clicking on it. You can change the height at which you're building by pressing S and W on your keyboard. And just like that, you can easily drag out a shape. And by hitting the little check mark down here, you can then create the ruin. It will take probably the first time a couple of minutes because it's now loading all the color models, but from then on it will be faster and faster every time you use it. Especially if you're using Battlefield Builder for the first time, please keep that in mind that the load times are an initial thing, and once it is cached, it will be much quicker. There we go. And here we are back again with a fully loaded ruin. As you can see, it just randomized which pieces to place, and you can decide which pieces it should place and which should be avoided in this menu over here. By clicking on some, you can now be sure that every time we have a transition from height 3 to height 0, as you can see in the name, it will always take this piece. So you can make sure that you only get windows, for example, in your automatically generated ruins by banning everything except windows. There we go. The same works with the railing tool. It's the same principle, just with railings that are usually used to top off your buildings. I do a small one here, and then I'll show you how they are usually used. But as you can see, you just create the same kind of path, gray and abstract, and then you hit the check mark down here to have it be generated for you. There we go. And usually they're used in the next floor up. So as you can see, if we are moving to over here, you can see that we just have this flat area up here, but we can make that much more interesting by placing some railings here. For example, like this. It's a really, really small example, but let's go with it. And then you can fill out the little half spaces here. They are not placed automatically. You just head over to the railing tool and select from the last two options the ones you would like to use. Like this. And now you have finished up the highest floor of your building. Of course, we also offer floors, so you can actually create platforms and higher floors to place your miniatures on. Again, very, very small example, but you could also go as large as you want, as long as you have walls underneath, of course. There we go. And by default, all floors are printed separately, so what is highlighted right now will be printed separately from the one below. This is how we ensure that everything prints support free. And now, lastly, we have for the auto generation tools the pipe tool, which allows you to create pipelines, either to connect buildings with or to create barricades for your units to hide behind when they're otherwise on an open street or something like that. So you again drag out a path that is just abstract, and then you hit accept and it will generate the pipes. Here you can see that a piece is missing. These are the type of bugs we need to fix before we actually release the product to the public. Yeah, probably one of these two models is missing from the software right now, and that needs to be fixed. Just a normal hiccup in the development process. Yeah, one more tool that is important, right? We have the connect tool. Since all floors are printed separately, they need to be connected after printing. Otherwise, of course, they would just fall off. For that, we have the connect tool. If you enter the connect tool, the visual of Battlefield Builder will change a bit, and you will see everything transparently. And inside of these transparent models, you will see connection points. For each of these connection points, you can choose which kind of connection you want to use. So we have pegs, which will be 3D printed, little 3mm extrusions. We have magnet holes, which will just leave a 3mm deep hole in there. And then we also have the option to use filament, which will leave a slightly smaller hole. You just select which option you want and then click on the connection spot, and then just leave the tool, and it will automatically be set according to your specification. If we now take a look at this, let's quickly move this out of the way so we can actually see. You can see that we have a little peg protruding here where we selected peg. We have a square hole where we selected the magnet. There is where I placed the filament hole, which is a little round hole where 1.75mm filament will fit in. If you want to create a permanent connection, you can use that to align your pieces and then glue them in place. Yeah, and you can also upload your own STL files, either placing your miniatures and previewing how they will look on the table, or uploading your own terrain and expanding it with Battlefield Builder. And if you put in a couple of hours into Battlefield Builder and you practice a bit, you can create these kinds of wargaming tables easily. And then, since there are no download limits whatsoever, you can completely download this and print it for yourself with a one-time purchase of 60 euros. And this is just one table. I'm pretty sure you can design 3, 4, 5 that don't have too much repetition, or you can go completely modular and get the most out of each roll of filament and just create modular building pieces that slot together using the magnet system.
Battlefield Builder, the custom creator app for 3D printable grimdark wargaming terrain. Built with hundreds of different models, each with multiple variations. There are no download limits, no subscriptions. You can easily create full wargaming tables. And everything you create is multicolor printable and prints without any supports. Battlefield Builder allows you to automatically create ruins, generate pipelines, test paint schemes, and even import your own STLs. And that is just the beginning. The many useful tools make it easy to create whatever layout you like. The entire system is modular, allowing you to create magnetic connections for that satisfying snap and get the most out of each roll of filament. Try the open beta now.